A very good morning to you, Crafty Lots. So we are working with the flat wax cotton cord once again today. I just love this material. There is so much you can do. A couple of weeks ago, we done some more basic versions of them, and today we're gonna do a more fuller look, showing you how to do a really nice stitched sort of weaving the ribbon all around the beads themselves. This version is a little bit more complicated, so it does take a little bit of sort of working out and preparation before. And the version we did before was quite nice and easy. You just sort of woven as you went along, I guess you woven it around. Good morning, Alicia. Good morning, Brenda, Maxine. Molly's watching. Good morning, Molly. Molly is in the warehouse and she's going to do the comments for us today. Bless her. Morning, Paula, Sue, Helen, Margaret, Camille, Di, Mina. Oh, there's so many of you today. Morning, Dean, Margaret, saying hi to everybody. Morning, Debbie. Dean is asking how you're doing today. I'm really good. It's Monday again. Good morning, Lucy. The week's gone very, very quickly and we're back around on Monday again. So I'm going to turn the camera around and point it down to you on my mat so you can really see what I'm doing. I'm trying something different with my hair today because I think I'm going to be Rapunzel soon. My hair is just really growing. The last time I had a haircut was in December and I'm wearing one of these. We made this probably a few weeks back, this little beaded hairbands, and I'm just going to wear that today. And if you are interested, do check it out. If you go in, I think it was one of the April videos. So if you go on our website, you can check out and make one for yourself. So let me just turn you down on my mat and then I'll show you exactly what we're going to be doing today and how to achieve the look. Right, so actually let me show you the page on the iPad, today's page. Now if you go on totallybiz.co.uk onto our website, in the categories or either on the left hand side, if you look at it on a desktop, there is a category called Facebook tutorials. Now if you go into this, here is day by day what we've been doing, and oh gosh, we've been doing this like 13-14 weeks. So March tutorial is all in there, April is all in there, May is all in there, and this is June. And we did so many lovely projects, the wirings, but as Sarah, I see so many of you were wearing graduated fans, Art Deco necklace, beaded beads we done this month. So today is a multi-row flat wax cotton cord. It's a bit of a mouthful to say, I guess, but the flat wax cotton cord come in 5 different colors. Now there is a PDF today, but the PDF is more to the basic instructions because I haven't written up an instructions for this more complicated look, but I guess the video is going to be your instructions. However, I did put the PDF back from the last video we had, which is more sort of the basic version and how to start and what to do with wax cotton cord itself. So, and then we just got the ends in there as well because you need this really nice ribbon ends to make a nice and professional finish. So do check that out on the website. The ribbon is 50p a meter, but if you buy 5 meters, then it goes down to 35p. Let me just have a look. I think if I press on that, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. My iPad is saying, oh no, if you purchase 10 meters, it goes down to 35p. So 1 meter is 50p. If you purchase 10 meters, it goes down to 35p per meter. So that's quite a great saving as well. Now to make a necklace like this, you're gonna need a couple of meters anyway, so you can use it up in loads of different projects. I had so much fun with this wax cotton cord. I used it in so many different projects and different sort of like, you know, we made little Christmas decorations as well. These are really easy and fun. Just put a hat pin through, a loopy on top and bottom, and just added a little dangly, you know, a little drop just sort of on the bottom of it. But there is so much you can do. Now, there is plenty of other ribbons out there what you could use, but what you have to be careful is how thick is the ribbon, because if the ribbon itself, like, you know, you get the satin ribbons and all sorts of other ribbons as well, but if it's really thin, you're not really gonna get the effect as you go around the beads. So this one is about 1 millimeter thick, so you can really see it's a really nice pattern. Morning Jackie, morning Jan, Doris, Bernie, Dee. Sorry if I forget to say hi to anybody. I will go back in the video later on and look at all the comments. If you got any questions, please do let me know. I can answer them, but if I forget to answer them during the video, I will go back later on and answer them as well. I also had some fun with some drop beads again and created this really lovely flower pattern. I'm going to show you the back of it because one of them is not perfect. So I started with this one and I just sewn sort of the beads going around, but I didn't make a little bit in the middle, and as you can see that flower is a little bit flimsy, and then I sort of learned from my mistake and I added a little bit sort of just rolled up in the middle to hold the flower shape really nice and tight. So there is so much you can do with this. Good morning Betty, Lynn, Jackie. Jen saying, good morning Kitty and fellow beaders. Haven't been here for a week. I've had a serious pet problem, but all good now. Oh, I hope your pet is all right. I think it's so, pets do become like a part of the family. We got a cat and she's a part of our family. So anything would happen to her, I suppose she's 13 years old, it would be really sad. Right, so just to recap what we did last time. If you just want to add a single row of beads, you can very easily, let me just move this out of the way. Very easily do that. You don't even need to measure anything out. You just sort of stitch through the beads as you go along. And I was using two colors here and just stitching the beads between. This was really easy. So I would just pick up a bead, I would fold it around, go through the ribbon itself and keep on going. You can tackle it down in place by place, but this is sort of a really easy process to do. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to do one of these. Now, to do this, you're going to need to measure out the lengths between when you stitch through, because you don't want one loop slightly bigger and the other loop a little bit smaller and another one a little bit bigger. So you want a really nice and even look, and for that you need to take a pair of rulers, and I'm just going to use a marker pen here because I won't be able to see the dots what I make because they will be inside there sort of like, you know, next to the hole of the bead. You won't be able to see anymore. But if you do have sort of fabric pens, that's really great to, you know, work with that as well. But hey ho, if you just got a felt tip pen, it doesn't have to be a permanent marker, anything, or a pen, you can mark your wax cotton with it. So I think I'm going to do a purple one because I got this. I'm going to show you, I'll show you the different colors actually first. So that's the purple. We got this really lovely aqua color, which then goes with sort of bluey aqua beads. We got the black one, which is again goes really nice with black and monochrome and silver, sort of all sorts of different beads. And we got a navy. The navy is really nice as well. Have I got a bracelet made up in navy? Let's just grab one. So again, I used it with blue pearls before, but you can use it with crystals or anything to store it. And we got a sort of a silver grey colour. This is a really nice colour as well because it goes with everything as well. I'm going to do the purple today. Chef is saying, good morning, Kitty and everyone. I'm loving these. Lourdes, beady session. She's saying, morning, Jackie. Oh, there's so many of you here today already. Right, so to plan your lengths out, you can, by the way, iron these. So if it does, depending on how you store it, but if it does get crimpled, you can run the iron along it and it makes it really nice and straight. So first, what we want to do, we want to leave about a feet at the end that's going to be going back towards our clasp, and I'm just going to mark this here. So I just added a tiny little dot there, so that's going to be where I'm going to start my first stitching. But actually, before I do that, I want to show you how to size up a bead, because I do know that like you need about 60mm for a 12mm bead, or an 8x10 you need about 14mm gap. But you don't always know what size of beads you have at home. I'm going to add the crystals at the top, so I'm going to show you how to size this up, and I'm going to show you on this one, because this is really nice and color. It's really nice and light color. So to size up your bead, what you need to do to make a little dot on your flat wax cotton cord, then I'm gonna get a needle, I'm gonna come through where that dot is, pop my bead on, and I'm going to wrap this around. I'm just going to pull the needle back so it's flush with the hole there. I'm going to pull this cotton around it and push the needle through. So I know that's the amount I need to cover a bead at the top. So I'm going to take my marker pen and I'm going to mark where the needle is coming out. So just very easily, I'll just mark it on this side as well, because I marked it on the inside. I got very easily, I got my two little dots, and you can see it better there, where that's how big I need to wrap around the beads. Now this bead is 8x10mm, but when I measure these two dots on my ruler, this is gonna come up as just like 15-16mm. So you do need a larger gap at the top to go around perfectly your beads. So we're gonna do 15-16mm at the top, and then we're gonna leave probably about 5cm, which is comes down around the bottom, and then we're gonna do another 15-16mm at the top, another 5cm, 15mm, 5cm, all the way along. So first, before you start anything, that's what you have to do with this. So let me just get this out of the way, and we're gonna start measuring. Now measuring it is really sort of goes quick, nice and easy. I'm just gonna line my flat wax cotton cord just on the edge of my ruler here, just sort of catching it with the edge and pushing down on it so it can't move. Then I'm gonna start marking. So I got my first one there, then I got my 15mm, then I'm gonna do a 5cm gap, and then I'm gonna do another 15mm one here, we need to go, and then make this a little bit bigger because I just dotted over there, and then I'm gonna do 5cm again, and so on, to measure out all the different where I have to go with the beads. So do take your time. The more perfect you measure, the better I suppose your weaving is going to be at the end. So you can, oh, I'm marking my nice little material, never mind, we give it a wash. So just start on 15, I'm going to do the 5cm one and move along. Now depending of how many you want to add at the front, you can do as much or as less as you sort of wish. I sort of I guess for a day wear I would want to do something a little bit smaller, and for a night wear you could do something a bit more fuller and taking the beads further to the back. Just keep along and measuring out your dots. This you have to be really precise, because the more precise you are, the more even your weave is gonna be when we start stitching. So I'll just make this a little bit bigger so I can see better. And my 5cm one. And the 15 mil. I'm just going to do a few more and then we're going to start stitching. And another 5 centimeter one here. Now this flat wax cotton cord is the same as your round wax cotton cord. It's the same material. It's really nice and natural and really, you know, it's nice to work with. It has got a little bit of sheen to it. I guess it's like a shoelace kind of structure, but obviously this one is made for jewelry making. We had the factory made these for us and they came in really big bundles, and we don't pre-cut this. So if you order 1 meter, we measure 1 meter out. If you order 10 meter, then we measure 10 meter out for you, so you can have a continuous length. So I think we have about 10 of them. Let's just keep going and do a couple more dots, just like that. And I'm gonna finish with my 15 mil because I started with the 15 mil gap, so I want to finish with a 15 mil gap at the end. That's it. So we got quite a few here now. I think we can get going, and we see we can always come back and measure a little bit more later on. So I'm going to use these lovely crystals at the top, and first of all we're only going to sew the top. So if I just show you the finished sample, first of all we're only going to add these beads in, and then we're going to weave down and add the pearls in at the bottom. Now we don't really need to measure the pearls or where the holes where we're going to go through the ribbon for the pearls, because we're going to tuck the pearl down right to the bottom. Right, so I'm just gonna take some thread. Now I'm gonna use Superlon thread because it comes in 36 different colors, so I can really match the thread to the color of the thread to the color of my ribbon I'm doing here. So I'm just very quickly, I'm gonna thread this needle. Hopefully that's it. There we go. So I'm going to work with probably a couple of arm span of thread here. I'm going to tuck all the end down, so I'm going to cut the bobbin off. Usually when I do beading I would leave the bobbin on, but this time I'm going to take it off and tuck all the end down. Let me just get this out of the way. That's it. So to tackle the end, what we're going to do, we're going to find our first dot. We're going to go back to the outside of our, because one side of the ribbon is going to be visible and the other side is going to be inside the beads. Then I'm going to sew back through. And I'm just going to do a couple of half hitch knots. So I just caught a little bit of the ribbon down. I'm going to come through this, and as you can see there's a little loop forms. Before this loop disappears, I'm going to go through this loop, and when this tightens up, as you can see, it forms a tiny little knot there. Maybe I should have chosen a different color thread to the ribbon so you can see it better, but I hope you can see what I'm doing. Then I'm just going to sew up and down, so I'm not working straight out of my knot, and I'm going to pick up my first crystal, take this all the way down. Dorothy's asking, hi Kitty, when you say arm span, do you mean one arm or two? So it's sort of two lengths. If my body is in the middle, I take my hand out all the way, stretch it out, and that's one arm span, and I take that again because I'm using the thread doubled up, and I can position the needle pulling it up as I need to, as I'm working, and when the ends get nearer each other I can always move my needle up. So in this way I guess I'm working with more thread that I don't need to join a new thread very often. It's really, sometimes that's what takes the longest. Debbie's asking what color and sizes are the crystals. Just want to make one for myself. Love the necklace. So these crystals are 8 by 10. If you are on our Facebook page, I did put a link to this page, which is today's tutorial, and the bits of, so you know, the wax cotton cord are in there. At the top there's a couple of links here. So it's the 10mm glass pearls we're using and the 8 by 10 crystals, and what you're going to fill in the middle, that little gap, this can be, you know, 3-4mm pearls or crystals or anything really you have at home. Right, so let's take the crystal all the way down, and then as we measured out the length, we got our little dots here. I'm just going to find my next dot and come through that one and then pull this up nice and tight. Now our next one is 50mm, what we measured that, so I'm going to find the next one and come back straight through it, which is this one. So then we're creating the large loop excuse me, at the bottom of it. So then that is gonna, and this is where we're gonna house the pearls later on. And I'm gonna pick up another crystal, and again I'm gonna come back through, we're gonna tighten it up in a minute, the next 15mm gap, and pull this up nice and tight. And the next one, again, it's going to be our 50mm, so I'm going to find my next dot and come back through. But because we measured out, if I do a few more, you can see these loops at the bottom is going to be exactly the same. And I'm going to pick up another crystal. Let me just move some over here and come back on my next dot, which was 15mm, and just keep on sort of in one weave, one stitching through, you adding a crystal. In the other one, you're just going through your dot, adding the loop to the bottom, and just keep stitching through. We're gonna come back through this and reinforce it. Now the only thing what you have to be careful that you don't twist your cord so it becomes nice and even, because if I would have twisted this, you would have a twister at the bottom. Or we could do a design, I guess, with when every single one of them is twisted. That would look really cool too. Just adding a crystal and coming back up. So I think this is sort of shows you that sometimes you can work with really inexpensive materials like this, because this flex cotton cord, especially if you buy 10 meters, it's like 35p a meter. You can create really nice jewelry out of it, and you could even use leftover beads, because you don't, you know, you don't use a whole strand of crystals or a whole strand of pearls. Well, depending on how big you want to make your front piece, it will be bigger or smaller. I like to go, when I do my loops, I like to go sort of uneven numbers. So I have 7, 9, 11, 13 or 15 loops at the front hanging down. I'm just going to pick up the next crystal. And, oh, not crystal, sorry. Lucy's saying, I think my problem when I tried this, I didn't do all the measurements, I guessed it. I will retry. So you can, if you're just making a simple row like these ones, you can guess it and you get sort of an even finish. I mean, even on this one, when I went along, so you can see a couple of them might be a little bit bigger and smaller, but it looks overall, it looks really nice and even. But if you want to make a 2 or a 3 or how many row you want to make, you do need to measure out your, where you're going to come through your dots, because that's what's going to give you the even look. Oh, Joe's saying same here, Lucy wasn't as neat as Kitty's. I think this is like everything, it comes with practice. if I had to bake a cake tomorrow and make a decoration from it, it would be a disaster in my home, because I'm not very good with icing and sort of doing that sort of things. But I guess if I sat down and practiced it over time, I could master it. So something like this as well. First, even though if you can measure out all your dots, but then as you go along, after a while, you will just, I guess, just know, and you could do it by eye. So it's coming together quite quickly. Just a few more crystals. Now the pearl, I'm using this very lovely rainbow crystal at the top, and I'm going to use a purple pearl at the bottom, and I haven't quite decided if I'm going to use a tealy color pearl in between or if I'm going to use a purpley pearl between. But this is the beauty of this: when you're doing your own jewelry, you can sort of make up, and with this one definitely you can make up as you go along. So just coming through this. So we got quite a few of them in there already. I think we got about 5 more dots and that's it. I'm just going to come through creating the big loop. Yeah. So how's everybody doing? Has everybody had a nice weekend? And going back up the next one. And again, I'm creating the big loop. If you do have to take your thread back, you can't stitch back through your wax concord, because you will catch 1 or 2 of the fibers and you might tangle up in a knot. So if you do have to go back for any reason, take your needle off and stitch and pull your thread back through, rather than trying to sort of stitch back. And we got 2 more to do. So I'm almost there. I guess the necklace would take you about, well, depending on how many or you want to, how big you want the front, but anything between half an hour to an hour, you can very quickly stitch it together, because don't forget we are using larger beads here, so it grows quite quickly as well. Oh, please don't get knotted up. Then you just pull that out. Kelly's saying, I missed the start. Are all the dots marks are the same spacing, or have you got 2 different spacing? Might have to start watching it from the beginning. So yes, I did. I showed you how to measure up your bead against, if you just started with us, I guess, how to measure up your bead. So if you go through, make a little dot on your wax concord and pop a bead on there. And then I'm going to pull the needle back so it's flush with the hole, and take this around and pop the needle through it, and then mark where the needle is coming out of your bead just on the other side. And with that, you are, because we can use all sorts of different sizes of beads. Now this is an 8 by 10 millimeter crystal, but you could use pearls, you could use other sizes, smaller and larger sizes. So that's how you get a really nice and tight measurement around. And once you did that, you can then take your flax cotton cord, this is not stretchy material at all, and measure your dots. So you always want that measurement at the top, and you want a larger measurement for the bottom as well. You could do it by eye, but if you do it by eye, you've run the risk that some of these loops are going to be bigger or smaller. So just a little bit of preparation, I guess, makes your beadwork look much more professional. And then you can iron this, because it's just sort of a nice a cotton material. Just lay it down flat on your table, take your ruler, and I just use the marker pen. I won't be able to see these dots because it will be hidden between the beads anyway, and just make your measurements. So we did 15 millimeter where the 2 beads are, and then we measured 50 millimeter for the larger loop, And then let's do one more, 15mm for the large loop, and then another 15mm for the smaller bead. So there is two, but then if you wanted to multiple row, if you wanted to sort of snake it a little bit more, you could add all sorts of different measurements to it. So let me just pull this through, get rid of the end. And then you're just gonna keep to your dots and pull your work tight. So I'm gonna pick up my next, no, sorry, I just had a crystal on. So this is the 50mm gap. So I'm just gonna find my dot and come through. Make sure my ribbon is nice and straight, pull this up, pick up a crystal and go back on my next, my smaller measurement there. Pull this up tight and then go back on my larger one. Make sure the ribbon nice and straight, and then pick up a crystal and come back through my next one. So this is going to be the end, and we're going to turn around. Now what I like to do before I move down to introduce the next row, and as you can see it naturally starts to curve. I'm going to trim this end because it's really long here. Just sort of, I got a smaller piece to work with. So before I do anything, I'm going to tackle this end. Now because I wanted a crystal, so here as you see I finished on a large, sort of my large loop, the 15mm one. Here I want to finish on the crystal, but I don't want my ends to hang down. I want them to go up towards the back of my neck. So all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna fold that end and tackle it down. So I'm gonna pull this really tight. I'm gonna do a couple of 1 thread knots to secure it. So I'm gonna just, I haven't sewn through the fabric, I just sort of caught a few fibers there, pulling it tight. I got this little loop forming on my thread, and I'm gonna come through that loop and pull this tight, and then our work is nice and secure. And I'm just going to repeat this one more time, just sort of have a nice and strong finish here. So I'm just caught those few little fibers at the end, pulling my thread through. Before the loop disappears, I'm going to go through this loop and pull this tight, and as you can see that little knot is forming right there. So what I want to do, I want to tackle the end here. I'm going to sew through the other side. I want to tackle that end, so this is going to be going upwards towards my neck. So I'm going to fold it back over on the bead. I'm just going to hold it there, and I'm going to come up and down on this last little row just to make that crease so it will stay nice and straight there. So I'm going to come to one edge, then I'm going to sew back down, sort of just a normal stitching up and down, nothing complicated, just to really make that nice crease in there. And I'm going towards the other edge as well. Oh, Kelly's saying, oh, that looks pretty. Vinny's saying, I'm outside in the sun making some kumhi. Said, oh, well done. I'm super jealous. I need to go into work after this, so I will be in the warehouse today. No sunbathing for me, but I love doing a little bit of beading in the garden when I can. So all we did is just made a little bit of crease on the end there. Now I'm going to come back to the middle, so to just stitch myself all the way back, and I'm straight gonna go through my material and the crystal. And what I like to do, I like to take this thread all the way back to the beginning just to reinforce this, you might have to wiggle it as you come along, but as you can see, I can go through quite a few beads and quite a few thicknesses of the wax cotton cord, and just wiggle it all the way down, going through the same thread path you have created when you were coming up. And just reinforcing it to making it a little bit stronger. Just came to 3 beads. Oh, Doris saying, you lucky thing, I would love to go and work with you. All of them lovely beads. Yes, I suppose I'm quite lucky because I really enjoy my work and I really enjoy what I do, and I'm more of the creative side of the company, so I just get to play with lovely beads and come up with patterns and do, step back because I don't want to come out on the edge, do, you know, what, just play with my beads. And but when we do work in a warehouse at the moment, because we are in split shift still and trying to be really extra careful and extra safe, it's a little bit, you know, I have to sort of step in and pick and pack orders. And we went in on Saturday night and I was actually putting together all the pearl bundles for you, what Sarah had on, and I put the hematite bundles together as well for Sunday. So we all sort of have to chip in and help. Now on this side, I'm going to repeat what I did on the other side. So just tuck all the end down. We will go back and straighten this up. If it does look a little bit wonky at first, don't worry about it too much, because we'll come back and straighten all that up. So I'm just going to do the same thing here. I'm going to fold the end over. I'm just going to stitch backwards and forwards to tackle that end down. So I'm just changing the direction how my ribbon naturally wants to go, I guess. Just go backwards and forwards towards one edge and then down to the other. Actually, I think we can get rid of that tail as well. And just pull this through. Oh, Jenny's saying my house is a bit like a bead warehouse. Oh, bless. I mean, you have to, there's nothing worse when you see something and you really want to have a go and you haven't got the right materials, and then you have to wait a few days until they arrive. So I think you and me both, I got so much stuff at home that I could quite easily keep myself entertained for, I guess, next 20 years. Right, so you got 2 options here. You can either weave your thread down to the bottom row, just pull this through, or actually, because I have this little bit of tail left here, I'm going to tie my tail and my working end together and trim this off and start a new thread at the bottom, just to make it sort of nice and neater, and then I'm not going to have a thread running down to the bottom row. So I'm just going to very quickly stitch this together. You can also do a 1 thread loop if you like, just to sort of work and work your thread off. So I stitched that together. I'm going to take my thread through a couple of beads and I'm going to cut it off here. There, never cut off your thread right, oops, we created a loop here. Never cut off your thread right next to your knot, because then your knot can come undone. So I'm just going to trim the end off, and I'm going to trim this off as well. Right, so I still got quite a long thread here, so I'm going to go straight into the bottom row now, and we're going to add our pearls. Now the pearls I chosen is this lovely purpley color pearls, and I think they go quite nicely with these rainbow ones. And look, what I love about the rainbows, so one side of it is like purpley, but the other side of it is like goldy, and then if you turn it a little bit, you have this really lovely teal color coming through. And you know, you sort of, you could play with it and turn your beads around, but I just sort of like to leave them as they are, the color going backwards and forwards. So we're going to use this lovely 10mm pearls at the bottom, but you could equally use crystals as well there if you like. So if I just pop some in there for you, so you can see, you could really use, you know, whatever you desire. I'm going to use the pearls. Now you can, once you created these loops, you can have a little play with it, which is often when I design something I do, that before I stitch them down, I just stick a few beads in there and see that, oh, is that gonna work, or is that gonna, you know, how's that gonna look when it's finished? And this is a good thing when you're working with something like this, so you can put it down on your mat, you can pop the beads and have a little bit of preview, what is it gonna look. Now, it's quite important to do, if you, well, it depends what you want to do. If you want to do a straight piece, like this one is more straighter, use both of the same size beads, the top and the bottom as well. If you wanted a curved finish, then at the bottom you need a slightly bigger bead what you have at the top. So these are 8mm in width and these are in 10mm in width. So that's 2mm on every single bead. Is just going to really nicely and curve your necklace, give a really natural curve to what you do. So we're going to go with the pearls are 10mm. So let me just pop these back out. I'm not going to need these crystals for now, and we're going to do the same thing what we did at the top. We're just sort of going to tackle our thread into the last loop. So I'm going to sew up and I'm going to sew back down, then I'm going to add a couple of 1 thread knots, or you can even knot your tail end and your working thread together. It's up to you what how you want to fix it. I think each one of us sort of prefers different methods. What you used to, I guess. I'm just going to do another 1 thread knot. And then, before I add my beads, I'm going to sew all the way to the outside. And when you can see, when I pulled that, the knot is just sort of disappeared, went into the material itself, and then I'm going to sew back through. And I'm ready to add my beads. So I'm going to pick up one of these pearls and I'm going to come through just on the other side of the loop. You don't have to be that precise with this one, but make sure you keep your pearl right down on the bottom edge of your loops, your larger loops. Then I'm just trim this end off. And now, before I pick up another bead, now if I wanted to make the fan even bigger and I used less beads, I could add then a little pearl bead between at the bottom, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to straight go through the next loop and pull this together, and I'm going to pick up another pearl and then go through the other side of that loop. When you get, I guess, a bit more familiar with the stitch itself, you can pretty much stitch through the 2 at the same time. So the one on the other side of your loop and stitching into the next loop, adding your pearls in, and they just pop in there really nice and easy. I'm keeping them more towards the bottom rather than the middle, because if I pull this apart, you can see the thread slightly comes underneath it a little bit, but that just makes sure it keeps the beads really nice and tight to the bottom of those loops. Lourdes is asking, what sort of clasp would you add on this? I'm going to show you the clasp in just in a minute, and it's really nice and easy. You got, again, quite a few, well, different variations what you would like to add on there. I love the crimp clasp the best because they're really easy and very quick to put on, and then you got the option to put a lobster clasp or a toggle clasp or even like a magnetic clasp or whatever you want to add on the back of it. You can also use glue-in clasp for any clasp like what Sarah would use for the Kumihimo yesterday would work with this one as well. And I had a sample here with a round, so that's the flat one just with the lobster clasp. And where is my round one? Oh, this one's got a round one. So this one just got a round Kumihimo glue-in clasp on there. So you could it's really versatile. You can, because it's you know, it's cotton cord, it's a natural material, it's quite squishy, so you can will it to whatever you want to do with it. It's not stretchy at all though. And just keep adding your pearls all the way on. Dorothy's saying, I also want to do those lovely flowers that you showed at the start. They are lush. Yes, they are. I just had a little play with them. It's a very similar technique again, but obviously there you pulling around. But perhaps we could do another video on it another day. And I pull some of there, because depending on, again, you just have to size up your bead. How big is it gonna be? And sort of stitch up and down. It's just a slightly different variation of the technique we're doing now. But this is why, you know, you're working with inexpensive materials. I'm probably using 1/3 of the string of the pearls and maybe half of the crystals. So if you got leftover beads, but there's nothing say you couldn't do a rainbow effect or ombre effect using different colors of pearls, whatever you have in your stash. You could use sort of different size of crystals, but I'm quite like the even look on it. And I'm just going to add the last pearl. Now, what I like to do again, I'm going to run, as you can see, because our pearls are bigger, we got this really nice, naturally curve effect with our necklace. Now, what I'm going to do very quickly, I'm going to run back through the pearls themselves just to reinforce them and pull them really nice and tight. So I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to add a 1 thread knot here at the end just to secure it down before I go all the way back down, and then turn around and just sort of, again, I can go through 2 or 3 beads at the same time, just sort of pulling my thread through, wiggling it to finding the hole on there, and just keep going through. I think we can go through 3, slightly moving it up and down where we know where we need to come out. And pull it through just to reinforce it a little bit. You don't have to go back through, but then, like, you know, these larger beads got larger holes, or you could use stronger sewing thread, I guess, but I just love using my beading thread, the Superlon size D I'm using here, which is the thicker one of the two. I just keep going. And what's great about the Superlon, it comes in 36 colors, so you can match. Dan is asking, Kitty, the events only go up to today. Sarah said you put them on a week on. I will do. I just had, oh gosh, I had such a busy weekend, and we were trying to sort bits out in the house, and you know, we were really, but I will do that. I'm going in today, and sometimes if the sample is at work and I haven't got a picture of it, I can't really add the event in, because you won't see a lovely picture of what we're doing. So we got down right to the end. Again, I'm gonna tackle this here, sew my thread off just with a couple of 1 thread knots, and just like that. I'm gonna add another one. It doesn't matter because my thread is the same color as my wax cotton cord, so I'm not going to see at all. So a couple of those, pull it tight. I'm going to go back through a couple of pearls, and then I can trim my end off. So that's it. We've done our second row here. Come on, where is that hole? There it is. And we're going to go in and add something in the middle. Now, what I love about this, that you can pretty much make it up as you go along. So as I said earlier, I wasn't sure if I'm going to use a 6mm pearl here. Probably that will be too big. Or if I'm going to use a teal color pearl. So I think it would look a really nice divide to it. Let me just hold it up so you can see it better. Or shall we use the purple? Let me know which one do you think looks better. The purple, I think that would look really nice as well. Or the teal. Oh, I can't decide. Let me know which one you like the most. The teal, and I do that and put that one on there, or the purple. The purple brings it back to more to the purple color, I guess, but the teal, it's gonna give us a really nice highlighted row there. Oh, Doris is saying purple, Tracy's saying the purple, so we're gonna go with the purple. Judy's saying purple, Annie's saying teal. Oh, more of you saying purple, so let's go with the purple. Now on your last row, because these beads are only 4mm beads, so they're not gonna, with these 8x10 crystals and the 10mm pearls, if I sort of fold it that way, you can almost see the pearl on either side and the crystal coming through. These 4mm beads, I don't want to stitch them in the middle. I really want to stitch them to the surface. So if I show you on this one, it's stitched to the surface, but if I turn it around, you can see those little pearls are all the way on the other side. But actually, I just had an idea what we could do, because you could wear either side of it. On one side, we could stitch the purple ones on, and on the other side we could stitch the teal ones on, so you could have a reversible necklace. You could wear it either way. Oh, I might just have a go at that. But let's do the purple one first. So again, you're going to do the same thing, adding your pearls in. I'm just going to take a few off here of my strand. I'm going to tackle the end again, so I want to fill this little gap here. Now I could have made this smaller, so if I guess done 4cm loops to the bottom, these pearls would be quite tight and up against my crystals, but I quite like to add an extra row. I mean, you don't have to add the extra row because it looks stunning as well with those little lacy holes in there. But I think when you add another size of pearls or crystals or anything in there, just makes it a little bit more intricate, a little bit more, just go up and down a couple of times here, a little bit more interesting, more professional, I guess. And I'm just gonna do, no, I'm gonna do on the outside because the space here, as I'm trying to do between there, is quite tight. So I'm going to do a 1 thread knot just on the outside here. And go back in. Actually, before I go, I'm going to slightly trim this tail bit because I'm not going to use that anymore, just out of the way, because once I fill it up with the pearl there, it might not be able to get to it all the way. So I'm coming out just on the side there. I'm going to pick up a pearl and quite simply we're doing the same thing we did before, just sort of try to find the middle of these two beads and come through the next strip of Vex Concord, and you're just going to do that all the way along. Make sure your thread doesn't tangle up in any of your rows. Let me just turn this around because I like to sort of work away from myself. I think each of us has got a preferred direction and how you can see it, but I'm just catching the edge there because I really just want to sew these pearls right to the edge. And just keep on adding your pearls. So this is why I said, depending on how big you're going to make this necklace, you can, you know, between half an hour, you're going to have a really nice intricate piece of necklace, which looks like woven, it looks like complicated, but it's not really, because, you know, we just measured our dots at the beginning and just filling the gaps. That's all we're doing. And this wax on cord is such nice material to work with. We got 5 different colors on the website available. You can do this jewelry with ribbon, however you have to be, because there is satin ribbons and all sorts of ribbons out there. However, what I've found with satin ribbon, that it's really thin, and once you weave it around the beads you can't really see much of it. It just sort of disappears. So that's why something like this, which is the only thing I can sort of relate this to, this thickness and size, it's like a shoelace kind of material. So you have a depth there, about 1 millimeter depth there, and that what gives you this really nice texture as well. So on the website we have put a free PDF back up, but that is for the basic version of this, because I haven't had time to write up a PDF for this version yet, just being really busy. But me and Sarah both really want to do some new things for you and new designs and showing you off. So I guess your video is a tutorial, but you can download the free PDF is for the more easier 1-row version, just to sort of get you used to how to work with this material, what to do with it, how to tackle it. Just really takes you through that. The ribbon itself is 50p a meter, but if you buy 10 meters it goes down to 35p, £3.50 for 10 meters. So there's a multi-buy offer on there. And if you buy a meter, we will cut a meter. If you buy 2 meters, we will cut 2 meters from our big roll. If you buy 10 meters, we will cut 10 meters down from the big roll. And I guess you need about a couple of meters, more or less, to do a multi-woven, because once you weave it around, all those loops are 50 mil. The smaller loops are 15 mils. So if you add it up, you need, it will take quite a large length of the wax cotton cord. So I'm almost at the end now, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to add the ends on the top. But I think I quite like the idea. I'm going to go after we finished and sew this one on this side, so I will have a reversible necklace. Oh, this is all only playing with beads, eh? Oh, Net saying, got to go back to work. Have a good day, everyone. Have a good work, Net. Net is quite local to us. She lives in Colchester, and she works, I suppose, all over the place. She was in Clacton last week. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through all of my beads. And how I'm doing this, I'm going through quite a few beads at the same time. And as you can see, because my needle is nice and straight now, it really pulls the beads straighter as well. I'm going to go back all the way down just to reinforce that row of beads. So going through the beads and the ribbon, stitching to it, just adding this last row of pearls in. Really pulling it through, sort of keeping not too tight tension, but pulling it tighter every single time I go through. You might have to wiggle a bit, so you wiggle your needle up and down to find a hole on your pearl. And that's it. But it grows very, very quickly. So with this, when we're going back on ourselves, we're just sort of tightening it up, and if you had any gaps anywhere, this time they will just disappear. But I just love it. I really do love this material to work with. And you can do decorations for your home as well with it, so don't just think of jewellery, because you could bead up, you know, it's just another material to use. We're right at the end, so now I'm gonna tackle it off here. Just do a couple of 1-thread loops, pull this nice and tight. Do another one just to be sure. I think I always over knot my bracelets and necklaces. I do maybe 2 or 3 more knots, but I don't really need. But when my children were little, especially my little Christopher, every time if I had a necklace on or a bracelet on and I picked him up, he would tug it straight away and he would want to have it and want to look at it. I'm just gonna taking it through a few beads and that's it. So our middle piece is ready. And now all it's left to do is to attach the ends. I'm really quite pleased with this. I think that rainbow color goes really nicely with that purple. So let me just measure it to my neck. So how long? I want to leave this a little bit longer because I don't want to sit right at the top of my neck. So I guess I need to trim one side quite easily, and I'm just gonna put the ends together, pull this all the way up, and just cut the other side to be the same. Now the ends we are using is these lovely ribbon ends. Now these are 8mm in width. There are different sizes you can get on the website, but because the cord is 8mm and this one is 8mm as well, it just fits it perfectly. And I'm just gonna grab a couple of pliers out. Right, so try to cut your ribbon nice and straight. Don't fray the end because then it's gonna open up. So if I got another piece here, so if you fray the end, as you can see, it's open and opens up, and then if you're trying to put the end over it, you're gonna see little threads sort of hanging out on the side. You can apply a little bit of glue or nail varnish. I have got nail varnish here, yes. So I like to use, because this is only just sort of, the nail varnish or glue hasn't got a functional purpose here. It's only just to keep those ends together. I love to use nail varnish because it already comes with a little bit of a brush, and I just brush the end of it, so that just seals all my ends together. But even if it's, as you can see, the nail varnish slightly changed the color of that, we're not going to see this because this is going to be inside our ribbon end. Dave is asking, did you use satin pearls? No, I just used ordinary pearls. Well, they're not just ordinary, they're just as beautiful, I guess. But no, they're just the 10mm pearls. I think this one's called Lilac. So once let this dry, and once this is dried, all you're gonna do, you're just gonna put the ribbon end like nice and straight on it and push this together. Now you can either, I like to sort of push it together with my hand a little bit, but if you haven't got the strength in your hand, you can always hold this with a pair of pliers, just like that. And we're gonna add this to the other end, just like that. So you're ready to crimp. So I'm got the open end towards the open end, lining it up, and then inserting the end in there and just pressing it together. And that's it. If you pushed it together with your hand, you do need to go in with your pliers and just slightly press down on there, just to give that those little teeth on the, they got like little teeth on the end of the little finding. It grips into the fabric itself. So that's it. So we got our ends on there. Excuse me. And then I'm just gonna grab my, for my little box here, I'm just gonna grab my box of findings, and I'm gonna use just the lobster clasp on here. I could use a toggle clasp, or I could use jump-rings. I could use magnetic clasp, anything really you fancy, because these little ends got little loops which then we can connect up with our jump rings. I'll show you the other end. I think I got a toggle clasp one here, and we need a couple of jump rings. So opening and closing the jump rings, I think we showed this so many times before. You hold it up so the little cut is right at the top. You're going to turn one towards you, the other one away. I'm going to pop the end on, and the lobster clasp on one side, twist it back out, then pick up the other side, and I'm just going to add this on as the jump ring itself, so the lobster clasp's got something to close into. So really that's easy to make it, but I have used the Kumihimo clasp. This is what like Sarah showed you yesterday in the video as well, so you can just glue the ends in. Because this is more of a round shape and your ends are flat, I just sort of sewn and tackled it into a round shape at the end, and then it glued it in. And where is my toggle clasp one? Oh, toggle clasp, where did you go? There you are. So I can add a toggle clasp at the end. Again, I think this one is a split ring. I added it on there. But same method. Just sort of put your ends on there, your nice ribbon ends, and just add the toggle clasp instead. But you could add a magnetic clasp or anything else as well. Right, I really want to try this necklace on, so I'm going to turn you back around. I will put this on the list, and we'll have a go at do these flowers because I think they would be gorgeous. But I'm not sure. I've got glass pearl drops as well, which would be great. Right, let me turn you back around because I really want to put this necklace on. Just prop the phone up. And I'm just going to pop it on. That's it. Oh yes, this is the right length. So I didn't want it right up, but I could have taken it further up, or you could have it further down. You could have had this part bigger, like this one, or shorter. It's really up to you. But with very little materials, you can really create a really nice look, a really nice, you know, it's like an embroidery look. But we did it with the flat Vexcom board, and although we've been here for an hour, I suppose if I didn't have to talk it through and I just sit down and did it, I could do this probably about an hour, in half an hour to 40 minutes. So I wouldn't needed the whole hour for it. But do have a go at it because it's a really nice and lovely technique. And what I love about it, that you can go along, you can make up as you go along, adding different beads. And, you know, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 beads on here, and there is 40 beads on a strand of 10mm pearls. So you could even make quite a few of these, or, you know, you could use some leftover materials where you have like a few pearls or crystals left over. It's a really great. And the ribbon itself, it's really, really cheap. Like that, put my colors just here. So we got the purple, which I've been working with. We got this really nice silvery grey. We got the navy blue. The navy blue is really, you know, that's a good color to get as well, because this one will go with blues, turquoises, and a lot of other colors as well. Black is good as well, because black goes with everything as well. And this turquoisey one, I love this color as well, I guess. I love all of them. This one is slightly different because here I reversed it. The pearls are at the top, and because then I needed to make the bottom wider, instead of adding the little pearls between the cotton there, I added between the crystals. So I picked up the crystal, I went through the other side of my loop, then I picked up a little pearl and then went into the next loop. So that's how I again got this slightly curving effect with that one. But if you use the same size beads, the top and the bottom, this is going to be really flat once you put it on. So you can really play with it and do a lot of things, and you can even put 2 different colors together, and I think that looks really cute as well. And if you turn your ends, you could create very different looks with it as well. Joyce saying, thanks for another fantastic video. Have a nice day. Yeah, so that... Judy's saying, best way to clean it, makeup, hairspray, etc. I haven't really had to clean it that much, but it's a cotton material. So I guess you would have to clean it how you would I would probably first try to clean it with a damp cloth, because that's what I do with everything. Even when I have the dinner down on me, I just get a damp cloth and trying to rub it out. But if you get it really dirty, I guess you could wash it with a little soap, something with good for cotton, I guess, because it's a waxed cotton cord, so it's a cotton material. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Do have a go. If you have a go and make something, please put it in one of our groups, because I'd love to see you know, what you make with it, or what different designs you can come up with it as well, because I think you always take it a little bit further and do a little bit more. Check out the website, and that's it for me today. Sarah's going to be with you tomorrow. She's going to be doing the fantastic hematite snake jewellery, and I will add the events in later on this afternoon, so you'll know what's happening in the rest of the week and the rest of the month, I guess. So take care, everybody. Stay safe and keep on crafting. Bye.